Hi, I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach parenting and good communication all over the world through the lens of the principles self-government. And in this video, we're talking about bottling emotions versus giving yourself a no answer. I teach all about self-government skills and communication. One of those skills is accepting a no answer. And I know there are probably some people out there that think when you give yourself a no answer, you might be bottling emotions, and that could be damaging. Let's talk about the difference between those things in this video. Let's talk about what does bottling emotions mean, what does accepting a no answer mean, and what is it that we should choose when. Some people assume that if you choose not to engage in a certain circumstance, like maybe somebody's getting angry with you, and you choose not to engage with them, not to get angry, not to express your feelings about what is happening at the time, that you are bottling your emotions. Well, that's not true. It can be completely healthy for a person to say, I choose not to engage. That can be a choice of empowerment. A healthy choice. So let's talk about what that looks like. But first, we need to understand bottling emotions. When people think of bottling emotions, they oftentimes think of a bottle. So think of maybe like a water bottle or a soda bottle, maybe a bottle that's made out of plastic. And you're putting gas into that bottle bit by bit. What happens when that bottle fills with a lot of gas? It expands, right? So suddenly the bottle transforms its shape and it gets really tight. If there's too much gas that is put into that bottle, or we add maybe heat or something to the bottle and the environment that the bottle's in, what will happen to the bottle? It explodes. A lot of people think that that's what happens if you bottle your emotions, that you're going to stuff them down, and then if you don't ever get a chance to release them or let them out, then you will, in time, explode. And basically, it will be everybody else around you's problem, because now you are going to be emotionally vomiting all over them. So, whose job is it to keep the emotions from being bottled up? Well, it's actually your job. Each person individually has to decide, I'm not going to bottle or stuff my emotions. When a person stuffs or bottles their emotions, what they're doing is they're taking a feeling that they have, maybe a feeling of being misunderstood or mistreated or angry or fearful or worried, and they're pushing it down deep into their bottle, as it were, right? They're pushing it down, but they're not just leaving it alone there. They're also continuing to be aware that it's there, that they pushed it down and it wasn't addressed. Now, when a person chooses to accept a no answer, they actually do address the problem that began the situation that they were in. They don't just never think about it. On the contrary, they say to themselves, I'm thinking about this situation right now and I'm deciding if it's important or not. No, it's not important, and I'm not choosing to make that a big deal for me. I am now going to choose to drop the subject and to let that go. They actually do address it. It's addressed. So just because a person does not explain their emotions to you about a situation that they may have been part of, or doesn't feel like they've had an emotional problem, does not mean they're bottling emotions. I remember one time that I met with a person and they said, my daughter has been through a really traumatic circumstance, and I'm sure that she's got to be bottling up emotions because she seems like she's totally fine. And I said, well, does she seem like she was before the traumatic experience? Well, yeah, I mean, except for the physical healing, but she's really probably not okay. There's got to be a way to dig deep into her brain and to make sure that she's okay. And I said, maybe she already is okay. Maybe she already sorted it out. And maybe for you sorting it out, it's been really hard. Maybe you've experienced more trauma as a mother watching her go through it than she actually experienced herself. It's possible because your processing could have had more fear or more worry in it than hers did. She might have trusted all of the people around her to help take care of the circumstance and actually decided that everything was going to be okay. So she didn't have any trauma, or very little, or for a short period of time. It's interesting. We lots of times think that unless something is talked about, it must be causing a problem on the inside. That's not always the case. We do need to remember that there are many emotionally healthy people who sort out problems all the time and decide which ones they will think about and which ones they will not spend their time on. And when they push them away, it's a healthy move for decluttering what's going on the inside. They're not keeping it. They're actually letting it go. For years, I've been teaching parenting. I'm most known for this book here, although I've written 11 books. There's also 4 children's books that teach the skills and principles of self-government as well. This book and these books each teach the 4 basic skills. This book here, Porter Earns a Quarter, teaches the skill accepting no answers and accepting criticism. There are 4 steps to accepting a no answer. When you accept a no answer, you look at the person or the situation, keep a calm face, voice, and body, say okay, or ask to disagree appropriately. That's another one of the 4 basic skills. And then you drop the subject. That means you choose not to think about it, talk about it, care about it anymore. You are going to leave it behind and move on. Some people, when they hear that, especially if they're really emotional people who are holding on to a lot of things on the inside that they've never fully dealt with, feel like, well, just dropping the subject is not healthy, and I know because I've dropped the subject my whole life. No. They haven't dropped the subject. If a person has all kinds of emotional bottling that they have done, that's not the same as dropping the subject. Dropping the subject is when you analyze the situation and you tell yourself, I'm not going to hold on to that. That is not important for me. I'm moving on. I can choose to accept that this was just one of those little no answers of life, or maybe it was a big no answer of life. But I can accept it, which means I'm not going to take it personally. I'm not going to try to control things that I can't control about it. I'm just going to say it happened, and now that this is the circumstance, where do I go from here? I'm going to move on. Now that's one thing that someone who's bottling emotions does not do. They don't move on. So even though you didn't address a circumstance with another person, that doesn't mean that you were dropping the subject. You could be holding on to the subject and not moving on, even though you didn't address it with the person that it probably should have been addressed with. I hope that makes sense, because learning to accept a no answer is an empowering thing to do, but bottling up your emotions is a damaging, disempowering thing to do to yourself. When a person chooses to bottle their emotions, they actually choose to focus on deep concerns, and they end up feeling isolated from everyone around them. In fact, they oftentimes go looking for other people who also are bottling emotions, and they'll have kind of pessimistic little pity parties. They're trying to sort out what's going on with somebody else who feels the same way as them, but it doesn't ever quite work. A person who's bottling emotions needs to talk with a person who's in a state of emotional health. When an emotionally healthy person can listen to what you have to say, understand, and offer suggestions, then you can probably have a better chance of moving on. If you go find another person who's in the same circumstance you're in, sure, you might feel kind of like you have some camaraderie or someone to commiserate with, because you're not alone. You may even find yourself going, well, maybe I can handle this because other people have to handle it too. That could be a step in the right direction, but you're probably not going to fully sort out the problem or release what you're holding on to until you talk to somebody who can help you see your power of choice. A good therapist or parent or friend should be bringing you back to the truth that you have a choice. You can choose whether to focus on something or not. You can ask yourself a question: is this a productive emotion or a non-productive emotion? If I keep having this non-productive emotion occurring, what is it that's leading to it? Could I ask someone to help me sort that out? Point yourself in a direction of solving the problem. There is nothing that can't be addressed. Is it ever okay to take your feelings and your emotions and put them in a little bag, not a bottle, okay? Put them in a bag and then save them for later and chew on them later? Yeah, that's okay. Sometimes people have to do that. I think people worry that if they're ever going to save thinking about something for later, then that means they're bottling their emotions. And that's just not true. Sometimes it's very healthy to say, okay, thank you for sharing that with me. That was important feedback, or that was some important criticism. I'm glad I heard it. I'm not exactly sure what to do with it yet. I'm going to think about it, and then I'll get back to you. Obviously, hopefully it doesn't take forever for the person to get back to you or for you to sort through all of it. Hopefully you actively do sort through all of it. But it is okay to reserve it sometimes and analyze it. That's also considered healthy. It's not bottling emotions to think about things for a while. Although, if you go for an extended period of time, you might think you're thinking about things, but you're actually bottling things up. Recently, I was at a scuba dive shop because I'm going to be getting scuba dive certified with my daughter, London, which should be a lot of fun, but could be a little nerve-wracking for some people. Anyway, as I was standing there in the shop, I ended up talking to a father and his 10-year-old daughter. They had recently become scuba certified and went on a dive down in South America. I was talking to them about their experience, and the father said to me, just remember that when you're out there in the water, there is nothing that can't be handled. Don't forget that. Some people think when one thing goes wrong, like one little adjustment needs to be made or something on their equipment, that they're just not cut out for scuba diving. And he said, just don't forget that there are people there that know what to do. They know how to adjust the equipment. You are going to be okay no matter what. You can sort it out. That is a principle that we need to apply to our emotional health as well. Don't ever think that because you have one emotional problem, or maybe you've stuffed a few emotional things and bottled them up and haven't dealt with them, that it's too late to handle the problem. It's never too late. We can always adjust. And as time goes by, you can probably teach yourself how to accept more no answers and adjust things more quickly so that they don't become bottled up problems in the future at all. We have to give ourselves hope. People navigate an emotional and social landscape every day, and we're all constantly improving. Give yourself permission to learn a new skill and to actually let some of this stuff go in a healthy way. If you have enjoyed this video, I'm quite sure that you will love my next video, which is called The Expectation Trap versus the Cycle for Success. Click on the link to that video now. I'll see you there.